The trail of broken treaties. Before there was an America, there were nations, not tribes, nations, sophisticated, sovereign, and ancient. They built, governed, and recorded the stars and seasons in story and stone. They lived not on the land, but with it. Their boundaries weren't drawn by rulers. They were shaped by rivers, skies, and sacred stories. These indigenous nations did not believe in land ownership. The earth owned itself. You could not possess the wind. You could not patent a stream. But to colonizers, land unclaimed by paper was land ready to be taken. So they drew maps, signed treaties, built borders, and began a war that never ended. This is the story of treaties written in ink but carried out in blood. The story of promises made and almost never kept. This is the trail of broken treaties. This is not just history. This is now long before Columbus, before Jamestown. There were civilizations on this land that rivaled Rome. The Mississippians built Cahokia, a city of 20,000 with pyramids made of earth. The ancestral Puebloans engineered multi-story apartment complexes from stone. The Haudenosaunee Confederacy united 5 powerful nations under a constitution, the Great Law of Peace. They had trade routes stretching from Canada to Mexico. They had political systems more egalitarian than Europe. But European explorers didn't see civilization. They saw wilderness. They brought with them a document that changed everything, the doctrine of discovery, a papal bull that declared any land not ruled by Christians was free to take. Treaties were supposed to be sacred, agreements between sovereigns. But in America, treaties became tools for control, tools for theft. Between 1778 and 1871, the United States signed over 370 treaties with native nations. Nearly every single one was broken, ignored, or reinterpreted. Treaties promised protection, but delivered military occupation. Promised land, but carved it away. Promised respect, but brought removal. One by one, tribes were forced to sign. Some resisted, some sued, some were massacred. Every time a tribe stood in the way of expansion, the ink on the last treaty faded. These weren't diplomatic failures, they were policies by design. In 1830, President Andrew Jackson signed the Indian Removal Act. It gave the government authority to remove tribes east of the Mississippi. Entire nations were driven from their homelands at gunpoint. The Choctaw, Muskogee, Creek, Chickasaw, Seminole, and Cherokee were forced to march. Thousands died hunger, disease, hypothermia. The Cherokee called it Nunadal-Tsuni, the trail where they cried. To settlers, it was progress. To native people, it was genocide with paperwork. In 1851, the Treaty of Fort Laramie was signed with the Lakota and other Plains tribes. It recognized tribal ownership of vast lands, including the sacred Black Hills. The treaty was solemn until gold was discovered. Settlers flooded in. The army followed. The treaty was ignored. The Lakota resisted. They won at Little Bighorn, but in 1877 Congress illegally seized the Black Hills. Land still contested in court today. The Supreme Court ruled the seizure unconstitutional, but the land was not returned. Only money, the Lakota said no, because the Black Hills are not for sale. Kill the Indian, save the man. That was the motto of Richard Henry Pratt, founder of the Carlisle Indian Industrial School. From the 1800s through the 1970s, native children were taken, often by force, beaten for speaking their language, punished for praying. Thousands died, buried in unmarked graves. These weren't schools. They were factories of erasure. Today, families are still searching for lost children. In 1887, the Dawes Act divided tribal land into individual plots. The rest declared surplus and sold. Within 50 years, native nations lost 90 million acres. Not through war, through paper. What guns couldn't seize, policy did. Sand Creek, Bear River, Wounded Knee. These names echo not as battlefields, but as graveyards. Innocent lives, mostly women and children, were taken in surprise raids. Bullets replaced diplomacy. Mutilation replaced justice. The U.S. government called them victories. Native nations called them massacres. Still, the people endured. Ceremonies went underground. Languages whispered from elder to child. Traditions kept alive in secret, in defiance of erasure. The fight did not end in 1972, it evolved. Native nations took their cases to court. They sued for their land, for their sovereignty, and for their dignity. In 2020, the U.S. Supreme Court ruled in McGirt v. Oklahoma that millions of acres in Oklahoma still legally belong to the Muskogee Nation. A rare victory, a long overdue one, but the struggle continues. From fishing rights in the Pacific Northwest to pipeline protests at Standing Rock, Native people are still fighting to be heard. Native youth today are reclaiming what was nearly erased. They are speaking their languages, dancing in powwows, reviving ceremonies once driven underground. They are educators, lawyers, artists, and leaders. They carry both trauma and truth, and they are no longer silent. Social media has become a new battleground. TikTok and Instagram now echo with ancestral memory. The trail of broken treaties never ended, but neither has the resistance. Across this land, from the deserts of the Southwest to the forests of the North, Native nations endure. They are not relics of the past. They are not victims frozen in time. They are warriors, survivors, storytellers. The treaties may be broken, but the people are not. Their voices are rising. Their truths are undeniable. Their future is sovereign. This is not just history, this is now.